Oops. That's what happens when you press too many buttons. Good morning, everybody. Good afternoon, good evening, wherever this finds you. Welcome to Boost Live. My name is John Nelson. I am the plug-in CEO of JKL Works and Plug-in Business. And we've got a lot going on. I mean, we've been planning this particular, when the idea came around for this particular episode, I mean, it's been in the planning stages for a few weeks now, but in between that time, some things happened, some good things happened, some new products came around that the team was able to bring together, and so we can offer them to you. And so I wanted to take some time. We do this pretty much every week, as many of you know who've been following. We're on live now. We're in most of the places. We may be on in some new places by the time this is all said and done, I sure hope. But for right now, we are on live regularly on Wednesdays and talking about different aspects of your business and how we can all improve them. It's more than just digital marketing. It's a 360-degree look at your business. And so there's been a lot of new developments around that. And so I want to go over those. But what I wanted to do, we have been working through a series of lives, if you will, real ways to get to jumpstart that real business life change that I keep throwing that phrase around. What does that mean? Well, I mean, this is part of the revelation that I've come across. If you do some of this stuff isn't new that we talk about, but it is not being practiced enough by most businesses, yours truly's included. And so that's been my journey for this. And so I wanted to bring everybody else along and apply this to your business because you might be in some of the same boats. And so we've been talking pretty much about standard businesses that kind of have a location, whether or not they see customers or not. But now we get to expand into the digital realm. And that's for lots of the folks watching this are digital marketers by trade or entrepreneurs. And so I want you to be heard in this particular. So we're going to spend some time talking with you folks as well. And bear with me, I've got a lot of things to click and a lot of buttons to push. So being my own master control, it's a television term for you. We'll get to see how this works, but I think it'll work well, and I think I sincerely hope and pray that you guys get a lot out of this. And if you do, please share it with somebody, not just for there's an ask in all this, which, we'll get to very, very soon. But, and at the end, I hope I've earned that right after a little bit of time of providing lots of value. But there isn't, but also just for the wisdom involved and for hopefully the conversations it starts, not only between fellow business owners, because we digital marketers in general seem to talk a lot more to each other, which is awesome. But amongst, inside businesses as well, is this really, are we really doing the things that we need to do before we start bringing in outside help to do this? Are we really covering all of our bases? So so I wanted this to kind of be, we're sort of halfway through. I mean, we can keep going as long as you want. You're going to see there's a whole bunch of new things that are out now that we'll probably take into the summer and have them available as videos for everybody and really continue the series. We'll add it to, you see the Success Academy there in the bottom right corner. These videos will probably get added to that. And so it just increases the value of it over time, because there are then, and maybe with some new material, because there's just so much going on here that we need to address inside our own houses, inside our own businesses, to create this life that we seem to be searching after, and really turn it into something special and make the best use of it, instead of just falling by the wayside because it was, a little more than we somehow bargained for. Well, every business has to do their homework, whether they're brick and mortar or they're digital or they're entrepreneur. They think they're entrepreneur, or they actually are an entrepreneur, So it's so let's just talk about what we're gonna get into today. I want to spend a little bit of time talking about my story and how we got here and why that should make a difference to you. Kind of what fuels this whole thing, Then we're going to talk about our JKO Works process just briefly because it's a little different. It's a business optimization model, and so it's a little different than a lot of the digital marketing stuff that's out there. Then we get to have some fun. Okay, we're going to talk about the conversion equation that I promised you. And that is something that if you can, it sort of brings all of this together in one place. And if we can figure out how to master that, it'll be truly, this word gets thrown around a lot too. It'll be a game changer, but it will change the way that you think. It'll revolutionize the way that you approach some of this stuff and kind of leave your head spinning in the best way possible. That's what I hope to do after this. We're going to take a little time out for those who don't know, which did include me, to talk about some business financials that you should know. And this is not numbers. This is kind of what the numbers are. And when you see these terms and how they all fit together, the model we use as a funnel, which so hopefully it'll make a lot more sense. And it'll help you to really realize that, see if you're getting the value out of your business that you think you are. Then we get to have some fun. We're going to bring in the JKO Works Profit Simulator. It is a tool that we can use. It's a basic tool, guys, but it's kind of fun because it lets you dream a little while. It lets you put in things. These are numbers that if we went through our full assessments, we would talk about, and we'll say what that means. And then at the end, there's, if you'll allow me, just a little bit of a pitch. If you want to explore more of this that we're talking about, of course, you're welcome to continue watching the videos and come be a part of our Facebook groups where you're watching this. You already are. Come be a part of our Boost Success to $50,000, and beyond Facebook group. But there are plenty of others that are out there that are watching this, and be involved with the community. Surround yourself with peers that will help you, that will elevate you, and don't just draw off of it, but contribute to it. And then if you want to move forward with us with exploring some of these ideas, there will be ways to do that if you will allow. Sorry. Okay, let's talk about me. God, that sounded awful. Okay. But this is my journey to this is important, because it fuels everything about this. This whole idea of business optimization for me is a full circle journey. This has been really over 25 years, even though I put 20, but 20 years of that is spent as a managing partner of a business. There were about 5 to 6 of us, depending on which business and which time frame. But I mean, not only did we get the joys and the sorrows of ownership, and there were some sorrows along with the joys. It's tough sometimes, but we also had to work in it. We were responsible for that destiny. And that has shaped everything about what I'm talking about. These are the places I'm coming from. And they were not digital marketing businesses. They have been in recent years, but before that, we were a trailer manufacturer. We manufactured in some very unique circumstances, inside prisons. And a fantastic program got killed. That's in another video. And then we've done business internationally. We've been the American location for an international company who could, they had the ability at the time to do the things that we needed done and to design the particular chassis that we needed designed, which is on the road now, and to implement it. And so that's all very important. Not all those businesses worked. In fact, the majority of them didn't. They ended up just, we never did a bankruptcy, to our credit, but they just kind of ebbed away for any number of various reasons, lessons we wished we'd have learned before it was too late. And then 6 years as a digital marketer. I discovered digital marketing in 2018, and I'm going to go ahead and give these guys props because they deserve it. It's a well put together community of the smart marketers, local marketing Vault, and James Bonadies and Jason McKim. They are, if you're in digital marketing, you'll realize they get you to a point, but they also start sooner. As those of us who discovered way too late the power that digital marketing can provide. They take you from that place of knowing nothing about it to making a successful business out of it. And so wherever you take it from there is your journey, but that's not their place to decide. They're the ones who started out, and they have fostered a wonderful community around that. Not everybody watching this has been through it, but many have, and it's over the years. And so that's what I attribute them to. 6 years ago, I discovered them just about this time of year, in fact. So I'm one of the old people around there, but I'm still hanging around because there's always something new to learn from that community and from them. And so and I've been blessed to be a part of many trainings along the way. And some of them, those people did wonderful trainings and then disappeared. Some of them have taken those wonderful trainings and they have grown them and they have evolved them into something more. And so there's a lot of good information out there. And at some point you have to act on it. But what I discovered along the way, so I'm a lover of the business process. Okay. That is a lover of the process of things, and I'm mostly a lover of I didn't put this in there, of helping people get to those points, because these are places I've been. And everybody's story is a little different, but not so much. We all have some of those things in common, and we all needed somebody or somebodies to come alongside and say, and not tell you this is how you should do it because I did it this way, but at least healthy questioning. Are you sure you want to do it this way? Okay, let's model this out. Here's the things that could happen. Here's the things that definitely will happen, or here's the things that probably won't happen. Everybody needs that person to come alongside, that accountability. And that's baked into my business. And frankly, it should be what I have learned in recent times, even back to digital marketing, is you should be building that into your businesses as well. That you that not only hold your employees, but hold your clients a little bit accountable. It should be a relationship. It shouldn't be, I'm just going to provide this to you and run. Maybe it works, maybe it doesn't. It should be a little extra time invested to say, okay, I built you this killer website. Are you using it to its full potential? Here's how can we change this around? And that's going to involve giving a little bit of yourself in providing things for free. Okay. Because what I standing out, and we're going to talk about that in a second, but what I came to realize last fall was I didn't stand out. I didn't matter. This company didn't matter. A little company I built didn't JKO Works didn't matter at all. Doing the exact same thing everybody else is doing. Why should they choose me? Yeah, maybe they learn my story. Maybe they don't. Maybe they whatever. And so they had no particular reason to choose me. And then every time I got into conversations with potential prospects, they were great conversations. We had some potential there, but I realized I was having to reinvent the wheel almost every time. Even though I knew the steps to take, you still have to go back and implement them. They weren't a part of a set process that is easier to implement. So it frees you up to think a little bit more around the subject and truly tailor it to their unique needs. You're just trying to get it going and make sure that it works properly with what they give you. But I realized I didn't stand out in any way. And then this concept of business optimization came my way. It does not abandon digital marketing. It eventually relies on it, as you'll see in a few minutes when we start talking about the different impacts. There's digital marketing stuff in there. A business will ultimately have to have some form of it. But are they doing all they can internally to maximize their profit potential? Are they keeping their costs in line? Have they increased prices are they adding such value to everything that they sell to their clients that they could increase their prices if they had to a little bit to compensate for price increases that they're getting? Where it doesn't hurt everybody as bad. That's a tough thing these days because everybody's having to increase prices, right? So are they leveraging their network? Are they networking good? Are they bringing in potential affiliates and joint ventures and people that are, in the chain before the purchasing chain before them and the purchasing chain after them? Are they contributing to that by bringing leads to somebody else and contributing to that business? There's so many things here that are important. And once this was kind of revealed to me, and I started really diving into this is when it came full circle. This is reliving everything that I had done to date and wished I knew back then. This for me is an absolute game changer. So I have been and truly revolutionary. Those are cliche words almost now, but they really, really are for me. And so I wanted to share them with you all. So that's what we've been doing the past little while. And that's where the phrase real business life change came from. It's once you realize some of this stuff, you will never look at your business the same way again. Truly, you will never look, no matter what size it is, from the small freelancer to the good size digital marketing agency or medium sized company. You will never look at your business the same way again if you really start to take this to heart. And it can be freeing when you develop policies and procedures and everything happens pretty much the exact same way. Yet you find ways to add value and serve your customers very well for the money that they're paying for, and treating them well, and fostering a family, not only inside your business of your employees, which is important. You take care of the company will take care of you. We've all forgotten that. Many have forgotten that. But it's an adage we lived by owning the regular businesses that we did. And it made a big, yes, we got taken advantage of sometimes, but we had a whole lot more fun and success and good working environment as a result of doing that versus not doing it. And then does that family include your customers? Does it include the people that you serve, that they really become a part of who you are? And the wonderful relationships that come with that. And then they're so willing to spread it, and in a way that is highly, highly likely that somebody else will come along because you've armed all these evangelists for your company to go out there and spread the word about what you do, referrals. So, this kind of led to two questions for me. Okay. And so these are the questions for you. And I'm sorry, I'm looking at notes. So I'm doing the dance over here. Those of you who watch these regularly know I'm kind of do this a lot. So do you really know your business? Do you really know? I mean, is this just a rote thing for you that, okay, I can build a website. So I'm going to pick on those people. I'm going to build a website, or I can put together a nice ad. So yes, I can sell these nice ads to people. Or do you really, is this a passion for you? Is this I know ads worked for me, so I'm going to get out there and I'm going to build the most fantastic eye-catching ads that really do work. And I'm going to build the process behind them. So all I have to do is barely turn it on, and I've somehow managed to figure out Facebook's and Google's and YouTube's algorithms. Where this really sticks, in the proper situation. And so, is this a passion for you, or is this just numbers? Even if you're just an employee in the business, even if you're just an employee in the business, is this just numbers for you? Or is this something you could get passionate about no matter what level of it you serve? I would suggest the latter. Try to make it your passion, even if you're the accounts payable person. Okay. That doesn't mean go be evil and pay out now or nothing, but really do learn to work with people and learn to coax the things out of them that you need to do your job. But at the same time, you sort of bring them along and keep them as a customer. That's an art form. Customer service is an art form. And so could this be more of your passion? And are you doing the things that bring you joy in this, even though it's work? Are you doing the things that charge you every day to go out and do this? Or is this just a paycheck? As long as it's just a paycheck, there's a phrase, something about if you keep giving what you're giving, you're going to get what you've always got. Something like that. I think I slaughtered it, but it's pretty much the same idea. If you don't put anything into it, if it's just a job, just a job to you, then that's all it will ever be. And it will be miserable. Find your joy in it. Find it somewhere. And then while you're at it, particularly as a business owner, but to the extent that everybody else can contribute, you should. Do you stand out as a business? Are you different? Why should I choose one website designer over another? What makes you different? Why should it matter? I mean, yeah, you got reviews. Yeah, you got whatever. You've got, some sort of social proof. Yeah, it may or may not be fake anymore. It's getting harder to tell. Is it? But still, why should somebody choose you? What's the story behind it? What makes you stand out and makes you different? For online businesses, that's actually a little harder. The concept of a market dominating position is a little harder, as we'll see. But it's something that's still very important. You have to find a way as a business to stand out. That's entrepreneur one. That's small business 101. And it's not just on price. If you have to default to price, then you're doing something wrong. You're not doing your homework, because everybody will eventually lose if you have to default to price. Okay, because there will always somebody, I don't care who you think you are, there will always be somebody who will eventually come along that has a lower price than you do. And the small fickle people will go to that other business because their price is 3 cents lower. You think I'm kidding, but they will. 3 cents, 5 cents, something small, something insignificant that doesn't matter, but yet it matters to them, and they will go do that. Instead of, you took the time to build up the family. You took the time to provide tremendous value to them. So then you can almost charge within reason whatever you want, being people will stay with you. That's the philosophy behind increasing prices. People will stay with you because you're giving them such tremendous value, and you have built up something special with them, and you foster that. It doesn't mean you're a slave to them. It means you provide the value you provide, and they see it and they recognize it. And I think that's all anybody wants. Anybody wants to know they're getting, they want a good deal, yes, but they want to know that they're getting value for the money that they're paying. They want to know that they are getting something, special, unique to them, that's good, that's fulfilling, that meets their needs for the money that they're paying, no matter what it is. Okay. So that's a lot about me. It's with some side trips, but I wanted to paint this as to why this business optimization matters. I wanted to paint this as to why a 360-degree approach to your business matters, because it does. Is your house in order? Are you doing some of these things that really make a world of difference? If you're not, consider, see me over here with my hand up, representing my little company, JKL Works, ready to help you find those passions and find those things, that even if some of the answers are really surprising for you. Okay, let's talk about our business process at JKL Works, because it's a little different. It's a little different than your typical marketing agency. Something happened there. I'm not sure what happened. Hang on just a second. I guess it died. So I'm not really sure what's going on there. Let's see. Bear with me just a second. Start talking about the business process and it goes crazy on me, right? All right, there it goes. Now I think we're going to get this back. I was already going to have to do some creative sharing anyway, but I wanted to make sure that we ended up in the right spot. So, like I said, just bear with me a second. Oh, you know what? I think PowerPoint died on me, which may be my problem. There we go. Now technology is going to be our friend, boys and girls, I think. All right. You know what? We'll just have to, we may have to do it this way. Ah, there it goes. Okay. All right. These things are bound to happen, you know? It's when you try to get too fancy with this stuff and then what goes on, right? Okay. So let me re-get that going. You just thought you won, but you did not win. Sorry. Peek behind the scenes of what a twit I can be sometimes. All right. Let's see. There my slideshow is. Okay. Now we're good. Okay, back to what we were talking about. We will bring this into the picture. And there we are. Okay, let's talk about, you just thought you won, but you didn't. Let's talk about our aforementioned business process, shall we? So there's several points of entry here on the business process for JKL Works. All right. And the most basic one is the business breakthrough strategy call. Gotten away from this some, except for if you kind of don't know if you fit into the rest of them or you just have questions. So it's still around. It's about a 20-minute session. It's the typical strategy call for people. And then we can decide where to go from there or if to go from there as doing business. So we keep that around as an option. And yes, there is an ask. So you'll see it at the end of it. So then we go to the Success Academy. Now, not everybody may be ready for the full business optimization experience, and even if they are, they get this as a bonus. But if not, if you just want it by itself, this is DIY coaching. This is DIY training course. Talks about all of these concepts that we talk about, and it's laid out over at least a year. We'll probably add some more to it. And there's even a financials section that teaches you about the financials and goes through in much greater detail what we're going to go through in a few minutes. Okay. So you have that as the Success Academy, we call it. And so it's revealed 1 week at a time. And each one of these courses are very involved. You're going to want to take notes. And there's workbooks, downloadable workbooks that go with them. There is an audio file version, so you can listen to it, when you're not sitting in front of your computer, and just listen. And there's a lot of people, they talk about in network marketing about listening to these trainings and surrounding yourself with that and making it a regular part of what you do. So this allows you to do that. So there's a bunch of cool things with it, but it is also a standalone system that we have. And then there is and you can start at any one of these. You can start with the strategy call. We can start directly with the academy if that's what you want. And so we'll give that opportunity in just a little bit to do that. And then we get to the success blueprints. Now this is where we get the $50,000. We can find any business at least $50,000 in 50 minutes session. This is where we get that. This is where it happens. So there's as few as 12 impacts that we can make on a business, and we can show you what that revenue will look like. And that's what we're going to play with here in just a few minutes in the simulator. But it can go as high as 40. It can go as for the digital marketing, it's 15 and 40. And so there's two versions here. There is the Success Blueprint. This is for any business that has a local presence of some sort and serves a local community. So I realize HVAC and plumbers and a lot of the trades and that sort of thing, they don't have an office that you should visit, but they do serve an area. Well, so that's where the regular Success Blueprint comes in. And in each one of these is, as we've talked about it, we've sort of skewed it a little bit for digital marketers, but and online businesses, which is what the digital blueprint, Success Blueprint here is designed to cover. Digital marketers, online businesses of all kinds, it's designed to address them. And you'll see that in just a minute when we start talking about the different categories that the different areas that we will try to impact. So we have that. This is our process that we regularly go through. And so this takes about 50 minutes. We only get through 2 or 3 of these impacts per session. That's all we have time for. And that's all you may want to have time for at that point. But we get to show you what that looks like. We ask you some questions, and then we put it into our profit acceleration software. And it does 497 million calculations. We couldn't do it without that thing. It's a wonderful tool. And so it then helps us realize what kind of potential is there for you. And then we lay it out in the ProfitWorks implementation here, step by step, piece by piece, week by week. It's done with you. It is not throw it to you and say good luck. It is you figure it out. It's not DIY either. It's not the Success Academy over there is, and you get that as a part of the implementation, but there really is a resource at that point, because otherwise we're talking to you weekly, and we're talking, we're collaborating together and making sure that we're coaching you in the right direction. And that we get interactive feedback from you on, hey, this is not working out like I thought it would. I'm really stuck. I need some help. Okay, let's take some time and talk about that. So that's what the ProfitWorks implementations are all about. And we add some layers. The professional adds marketing fundamentals that we've talked about in these lives a lot for those of you who've been watching. And we'll talk about some more. We'll revisit some. We'll go back and revisit some of those and add some more to it. And then the professional or the premium version adds a done for you in this case prospecting process, social media prospecting and email prospecting process. So we add that to it and giving really good results. And finally, we just added a new one over there. That's the JumpStart. And what that does is that is for if full-blown coaching and optimization and implementation, if you're not ready for that yet, this is a way to sort of put the training wheels on and let you try and see how it works. We do it a year at a time of investment. You get unlimited 15-minute sessions, as many as you want. But we do have a program we're working through that's based on these impacts I'm going to show you in just a minute. So you'll have homework to do, and you can't book another session with us until you've done that homework and answered those questions. So it keeps everybody accountable. That's the thing about this that I find most impressive, is that everybody, whether they like it or not, whether they want it or not, they need it. They need that accountability from another entity or from within somebody they trust. Not every accountability relationship is a good fit. Sometimes they're not, but oftentimes you're far better off having an accountability partner somewhere, or an accountability group that you have to continue to own up to and contribute to, than not. It's just there's too much research out there, too many studies that outside of business that make a whole lot of difference as to why that is, and that's at the heart of the implementation process that we do. So this is kind of our model. And we try to foster that relationship, so you stay with us a long time, because we keep adding value to your business. We keep more than paying for ourselves. We do much of this in the beginning without a lot of extra ad spend and other things, because it's we need to show you that we need to get that value out of your business first, and then we start reaching out. So let's talk, and so that's really what we're going to focus on here is the blueprints. The success blueprint for physical businesses that serve an area, or the digital success blueprint, which is for digital marketing agencies and online businesses, because their methodology is a little different. Obviously, they're in the digital space, but who they serve is also different, and so we approach things a little differently. Okay, so enough with the ask. Let's talk about some meat here for those of you who sat through this, and let's talk about the idea of the conversion equation. So this goes back to what we talked about earlier about, does your business stand out, and how does your business stand out? So if we can figure out how to take this to heart, and we'll probably be doing some lives on this specifically. in the coming weeks. But this conversion equation it sort of takes everything into consideration. So the first thing that revolutionized me about all of this was the concept of the market dominating position. Okay. That's your unique selling proposition. You've heard of that, the USP, or just whatever makes you different than whatever makes your business stand out, but it has to actually meet somebody's need. You can be the best whatever, but if it's not meeting anybody's needs, yeah, it's okay. It's unique about you. That's great. But it's not a way to dominate your market. It's not a way to stand out. In the digital world, that's a little market dominating position is a little different because everybody's your competition and nobody's your competition, sort of thing. But you still have to have a way to stand out. You have to do something that's just a little different. Yeah, I know there's enough business for everybody. I get it. And that's partially true. But if you don't give anybody a way to remember you, there is so much competition out there that they really won't. If you don't give them any way to spread the word or reason to spread the word about who and what you are, in your marketing agency or anything else, it doesn't really matter what they do. So that's at the heart of this conversion equation, because then once you have that market dominating position, which I think is totally mind-blowing powerful, the next thing you have to have is a compelling offer. You have to have a compelling reason for somebody to do business with you, to try you who's never tried you before. And so those two very much go hand in hand, the market dominating position and the compelling offer very much go hand in hand together, because that's what gets the attention of people to bring them into your world, and however they come, be it through an ad, be it through referrals, be it through a video, be it through a whatever, or reactivation because they've been a customer before. You got to have a reason to do business with you, and you've got to give them that reason to do business with you. So this is how this all works. So you're gonna see different steps here, and the market dominating position ultimately ends up in being something you're very familiar with: the elevator speech, the elevator pitch. That's the concept of you're going between floors in an elevator. And what another gentleman referred to, and I honestly forget his name, I apologize to him, I'll make it up somewhere, but it's not me, and it's not anybody that I directly know, but this is a great one, is the concept of the whisper. Is this whisper ready? Is your offer whisper ready? And what that means is, as he defines it, is if your prospect is sitting there having dinner with their family in a restaurant, and you come in and you walk in and you whisper something in their ear, and whatever you said to them is, you whisper your offer in their ear, and whatever you said is so compelling, it compels them to get up from the table and leave their family and say, I'll be back in a few minutes. I need to talk to this guy. And they follow you out. Is your offer that good that they'd be willing to do that? That's the whisper test. But it's the elevator speech is the same way. It is, can you say in one sentence enough to get somebody's attention to convey your market dominating position and your potential as to why they should do business with you? That is why I can find any business at least $50,000 in revenue in 50 minutes. That's mine. That's not my only, but that's one of mine. And then I mix in the concept of finding real business life change, because for us, just again, like Dave, I've said this before, it's like Dave Ramsey says, if you get your financial house in order, you change your family tree. You change the way people interact with you. Same with this. If you get your business house in order and you're successful and you're profitable and you take care of everybody, you take care of your business and you take care of your customers, good things will happen to you. Good will find you. You will get joy out of it, and you'll be everything that you want to be and more. And you'll get business just on that sheer reputation alone. Okay, so back to the conversion equation we go. So the first step in this is that you have to interrupt. Okay, you have to interrupt what somebody's doing, and this is the concept. Imagine scrolling, as we all do, scrolling Facebook or Insta or social media, whatever you want, YouTube, TikTok, and something catches your attention. It has to interrupt your flow, has to interrupt your thought process. It has to be so compelling right off the bat that it gets your attention. Like you think of in the old days, the guy over here, the newsie, or the carnival barker, or those people who stand in Times Square and do the clicking thing, or do this like a slap of the board. If you've ever been to New York and heard this, and other places too, but that's the one I have point of reference. All just to get you to pay attention, all to disrupt what you're doing. All they really have is a card to go visit a club or something, but they're getting your attention, and it must work because they keep doing it. The newspaper obviously has almost gone the way of the dodo, but there's they still have the concept is still somewhat out there. Just taking different forms. And so all the outlets are trying to get your attention. And, we don't really have carnivals either, but we sure had them in the day. But anyway, whatever it takes to interrupt that flow, to get that attention. So that is the headline. That is the main line of your market dominating position. Okay. That's the thing that says why you should, hey, pay attention to me. And here's why. Then we move to the engage. The engage is the subheading there, if you will, in your sort of your statement about your market dominating position. Okay, so so you have interrupted their flow. Now you need to engage them a little bit. That could be that's the start the conversation with them, and say something in such a way that it compels them to keep listening. It is this sort of, okay, I'm glad you stopped. Here's why I really wanted you to stop. And here's what I wanted to talk to you about, and drop something that is, much more attention getting it at that point. It's not it's not the guy slapping the board out there. It is you've gone past that point. It's now they're looking at you. Now, what are you going to do? What are you going to offer them? Do you have a sign? Do you have something you're waving around? Do you have an offer? Do you have a something that's real quick? And it has to meet their hot button issue. It has to be something worth paying attention to for that person. If it's not a hot button issue, you might get some of those folks, to pay attention beyond that. But if it doesn't confront them at all, they don't care. If they're looking to go to a nightclub, then and that's what you have to give them, and you give them a deal for 20% off your whatever, then that's what your offer is, and that's it. And it's those who want to go to that club or try that restaurant or do that whatever will take you up on it. Okay, but that's when they look at you. This is your opportunity to engage, and so that's the engage part of this equation. The next part is to educate. Why should they choose what you're offering? Why should they pay any attention to you at all? So you give them a little bit of knowledge, which hopefully this is a part of, that you're watching these videos says, hopefully you're getting some knowledge out of this. It's your opportunity to educate them on why they should choose you, why you're different, what they're doing, why they need to change their behavior, why what they're doing is not working. And back it up in some way other than what you're doing is not working. Don't just say that. Tell them why. Give them a real reason of, you're not, you may not be getting where you want to be. Well, here's one potential reason as to why. And then there's the offer, I can help you with that, thing. At the end where you then, okay, you got their attention, you've educated, you've told them what you're going to tell them, you've educated them on why you told them that, and now you're going to offer to help them with that, to move them to the place that they want to be. You're going to offer to address that hot button issue. So interrupt, engage, educate, and offer. This is the conversion equation. The faster you can master this, you may already be doing some of this. You may already be doing all of this. But if you're not, this is one you might really want to take into consideration. And it's not just me. There are multiple gurus out there, some of which are smarter than I am, some of which have just had, more success, and they think they can duplicate it, but many of them are starting to say the same things. And here it is. This is much of this is not new knowledge. It's as old as the newsboy, frankly. But it is sometimes forgotten about. It is sometimes looked over. It is sometimes not made relevant to now. And so that's the difference. That's what we can provide, because we have made it at JKO Works relevant to now, even though it may be something that is totally different. All right. So I'm going to breeze through this a little bit, but I hope this is beneficial to you, because it was beneficial to me. When I was as managing partner, I didn't have to worry about financial things. Okay. Excuse me a second. Needed to wet the whistle a little bit. I didn't have to worry about as many of these financial things, because we had a very capable CFO who handled all of this, and a controller in most cases. And so they handled all this stuff. So we didn't necessarily have to. And so I didn't learn this as much as I should have. That has now changed. So now it's your turn, because you need to at least have a base understanding of how this works. So you can tell if your business, however large or small, is going to survive. Okay. Because there's so much that works around this, that if you don't have this mastered, it's going to be a problem at some point. If you do have this mastered and you're making the most of it, then just sit back for a minute and we'll go play with the simulator and play with some fun numbers here in a few minutes, but don't go away. All right. But I hope this does help some people if I can spit it out. All right. So the best model I could come up with as to how business financials work is a funnel. Okay. And so don't pay a lot of attention to the numbers. They're kind of here because this is the best illustration I could get of it. Because there are layers to this. So as money comes in the top as revenue, revenue is all the money that you take in. And we'll go through each one of the steps all the way down to net profit, which is that is the money you actually made in the business once all expenses are covered. Okay. So we'll dwell on that a little bit more in just a second. Let's start with revenue. Revenue is all the money you bring in, as I said. Every bit of it. Doesn't matter. It's not accounted for any place. It's anything anybody pays you for, pays your business for. Okay. This is not employee salaries. This is not any of that. That's not the getting paid I'm talking about. I'm talking about every bit of money that your business brings in is called revenue. And so in some ways it is what do they say? Revenue feeds your ego, profit feeds your family, right? So, excuse me, revenue is typically always the bigger number. You may see in a few minutes that that's not always the case, but it is typically the much larger number. Okay. So it's, but then you start taking out expenses, and the first expense is cost of goods sold, or COGS. You'll see it listed as, and to make it all much more confusing, a lot of these things have different names. So I'll try to address some of them. But this is variable costs, because they do change. This is above the line costs. This is, any number of things, but cost of goods sold is the base definition. And so basically what that is the cost that it takes to provide the services that generated the revenue, and only just the cost associated with it. Not electricity, not most salaries, excuse me a second. Not most salaries, not any of that. Tickle in the old throat here. Okay, so yeah, this is just the cost and it's easier if you talk about producing a product, because because in producing that product, it is much easier to quantify this. This is where the cost of goods sold is much easier. When you talk about a service, that's a little different in many ways. One, there is still a cost with providing that service. But at the same time, those margins oftentimes are smaller, unless you bring in a contractor to outsource your stuff. That is a above the line cost. That is a cost of goods sold. because you're bringing in that contractor strictly to address that situation. Let's try that and see if that gets any better. This portion sponsored by wherever it was I had the tea from last night. Okay, then we talk about gross profit. So gross profit is what's left over once the bills are paid. Once the bills are paid to provide or manufacture or create or implement that specific service or product that you sell. Okay, so this is oftentimes a little bit harder to describe because it's sort of in the middle, and part of that revolves around what is a cost of goods sold, above the line cost, and what is overhead, below the line cost, type of stuff, the fixed costs, and the fact that things sometimes will go back and forth between them. No, looking for them. They'll go back and forth sometimes it's a cog, sometimes it's an overhead that we'll talk about in just a second. Particularly in the case of contractors, or providing a software, maybe like a Go High Level, that you use as well as your customers. So it gets a little confusing. So it's easy to overlook what this gross profit represents. But it is important because it gives you an idea of the costs involved of what you're doing and whether or not you're keeping track of those. Okay, then you start talking about overhead. And overhead is the fixed cost that you have, the regular costs. It is your internet access if you're a service business. It is the electricity if you're a regular business. It is or different things that are pretty much the same, but your business cannot live without them on a regular basis. Most employee salaries that are not contractors actually fall into this overhead category. Insurance, if that's appropriate to what you're doing, falls into this category. It's got to be a regular recurring service. It's got to be a regular recurring thing. Okay, so that is overhead. And then finally, once all that is accounted for, once all your costs are brought out, what's left over is the net profit of the business. And that is sometimes called EBITDA or operational profit. It's, again, everything has about 14 names, and that's part of what makes this crazy. But you'll see it listed as all of those. But that is the net profit of the business. We express it a lot as a percentage, but it's a percentage of actual dollars of your revenue. So, all right. That's the basic financials that we are running this off of. So I hope it makes at least a little bit of sense and is a little bit of a help for you as we work through and talk about what it is we're going to talk about. We're going to be focusing a lot here as we go into the simulator in just a minute on the revenue. It's overall, again, that's everything coming in. The gross profit of what is involved when, after all the bills are paid to provide that specific product or service, and then the net profit as being once all bills are paid, once everything is addressed, what's left is your net profit. That's what we'll be talking about as we get into the simulator here in a second. And that's why I wanted to take a little extra time to do this. Okay. Speaking of the simulator, I apologize, everybody. This has kind of been one of those things, right? So, all right. So the Success Blueprint Simulator we will get into in just a second, and it's going to highlight all of these different impacts that we're talking about here. We're gonna focus on these for this time. This is in the regular Success Blueprint. As you'll see in just a minute, some of those do change. So this is the and we've been talking about several of these. They should be familiar: market dominating positions, leads, compelling offers, some of the stuff down through the drip campaigns. We've been talking about as potentials to really help you have the success. The rest of them we have yet to talk about: upsells and cross sells and downsells and increasing prices and cutting costs and all those sorts of things. That's coming. but this is for right now something that is, these are kind of some core impacts that we can address. And these are ones that our little simulator will address here in a few minutes when we start to turn all of these on at once and just kind of see what happens. Truth is we could add a whole lot more. Here's 27 more that we could eventually get to over the course of an implementation for you. And then let's just take a quick second and talk about this new digital success blueprint and what's here. So you digital marketing type folks, take a look at this. These are impacts. These are places where we can impact your business as well. And just like the other, we have deep dive versions of this that they take several days to go through and ask the questions. They are very comprehensive reports, and they are standalone that we can get to. But this is the base level, and much of this should be familiar to you. Content marketing, website optimization, social media, SEO. But at the bottom there, metrics and KPIs. Those are things. These are things that if you can, master all of these, and you're doing all of these for yourself, not necessarily, and then you get to your clients. It will directly affect your clients, but you have to be doing much of these yourself. Are you doing much of these yourself and leveraging them as potential ways to find revenue for your business? Then we circle back to ones you've seen before: market dominating position, compelling offer, increasing prices, upsells, cross sells. There's a few different variants here. List building. That's, networking is just as important in an online situation, probably more so. But and that includes in all this referrals. I mean, referrals are a big part of this. Referrals, reputation, the things that aren't listed, they're just listed differently. Referrals, reputation management, database reactivation, those very base things that are out there that can be very important behind the scenes if they're all done. So this is the digital version of this. And so if you're a digital agency that kind of wants to explore what this might look like for you, then we can certainly talk about that. That's a part of the blueprinting process. But in order to show $50,000 in revenue, at least, we got to have somewhere in that ballpark. But we'll kind of explore what happens when you add in some numbers, and I think it might surprise you. So without further ado or sickness from me, let's see if we can go into the simulator. And so this too requires, I was going to have to do some of the creative screen sharing anyway. So appreciate everybody's patience with that and working through it. So now I get to switch gears and go to a different screen, if you will allow me just a second, and then we will come back to it. Because this is one that is, this is kind of fun. I mean, I've been playing with this a lot, and it's really exciting. So before I do that, this is inside the Profit Acceleration software. This is what drives everything about the Success Blueprint and makes it what it is. And so after all the questions, this is a fake company. So whenever we fill out this one really doesn't exist. So I'm not violating anybody. But when it gives me the opportunity to stress that when we do these blueprints, you're providing what could be for you very sensitive numbers. You see there's a financial section over here. There's some valuation. There's some things that we can do there. And so all of this stays, between us. Nobody else, none of my other clients need to know what your business is doing. That's not going to help them, even if they're, similar competition, because their journey is their own. But I'm at the implementation stage. So what we end up coming up with, I just wanted to show you this real quick, is we only mapped out 2 impacts. And you see, if you look right here, this is the revenue, $109,000 we found for this bakery. This is a bakery. And so we found $109,000 in revenue for this. Now, don't be fooled by that. So let's sashay over to the next column, and that is profit. And there we really realized some difference, $51,000 in profit just for this little bakery, which is, and you see what the increases are there. And so and then they have, what is the profit in 5 years? I mean, this is what it could look like for them if they kept doing the things that they were doing. And this is out of the 12 impacts you just saw and that you see over the left, this is only 2 of them. Okay, so this is what a timeline to implementation would look like. All right, so if I go click on one of these, I just wanted to show you this real quick, if it will cooperate with me. There we go. We get step-by-step process in your portal for an implementation. So you have weekly work to do. It's not overwhelming. It maybe take you an hour out of your busy week to do this, but if that's worth, in the investment, not only in JKO Works, but in your business, then it's really worth it. It's time well spent. And so then we break down each one of these steps. And so then you can see what that looks like. And so there's work to do every week, and it's done with you. We're your accountability partner at that point. And so it can make a real difference. Talks a lot about market dominating position and how to put that together and what that really means and how to research it. It's not a short process. It's a 3 or 4 week process to really do it right, unless you already have it done. And so it's there's lots of things you can do there to really make that really make a difference. And then you see there's a few graphs that reveal themselves over the course, talk about valuation over time there. And then this is the success meter, which is kind of fun. There's some different questions there that we actually end up asking you on the blueprint. We ask you in the beginning of it as what we call pre-launch questions to cover some of this. One of these is how, from a scale of 1 to 10, how hungry are you? Are you coachable? Are you teachable? That's part of the reason I showed a couple of days ago. Are you really ready for business, for real business life change? Because then that's another video that's around that talks about all this stuff. Are you really ready for this? And so that's, are you coachable? Are you teachable? Are you open to this? Is this really, are you at a point that you really need to do this? So this is the type of software that we have access to. This is what we do. But I just wanted to show you the implementation stage of that. That's really kind of cool. All right, so welcome, without further ado, to the Profit Acceleration Simulator. So this is a fun little exercise. This is not set in stone. This is what happens, like I said in the preview, the preview, if you saw it. If any of you have ever been to a Trans-Siberian Orchestra concert, it's almost like a joke that they do this, and the whole audience is in on it. And most of the people who go have been to these many, many, many times. And if you're not familiar with their story, they were kind of a washed up rock band in the 80s and 90s. They weren't making any impact at all. And suddenly they discovered somehow Christmas music. And Christmas music was their thing, became their thing. And so not only do they have, heavy, rock and roll versions of Christmas songs, but they have this unbelievable light and pyrotechnics show that goes with them. And eventually, at some point in the concert, the lead singer, when they go into a town, they'll try to, give portions of their proceeds to a charity, which is really cool. But at some point during the concert, he will say, there are 74 people or whatever in this who make this entire show happen. They make all these things come on at once. What do you think would happen if we turned all of them on at once? Watch this. And those of you who've been to TSO concerts are out there repeating that right along with me, and I probably butchered it, but it's very true. And it's pretty incredible what happens. That's all I can say. You should go watch the show if you ever get the chance. Or, I guess you can watch it on video, but it's really not the same. Go see them at least once. Then you'll have heard the songs, and they're okay. But they're Christmassy, and they're fun, and they're holidays, and they're all that. So it's a fun show to go see. So that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna turn it all on at once. Okay. And we're going to start with digital marketers. So as we work our way down, what's going to happen is we're going to put in the revenue we talked about before, the net profit, and the gross profit and the net profit. And then we're already set to do business with the US dollars, even though we could change that if you wanted to. And then we're going to start adjusting the impact. So we could change things as much as 20, 30, 40%. We could raise prices, now, although I wouldn't advise it, but we could start doing more things and have them have a high percentage impact on your business. We could increase your leads by 30%. We could increase your ad spend by 40%. We could do all these different things that generate profit, and then what happens. So, but we try to be conservative on everything that we do. We try to be very, very, very modest, because if we can show you this at the levels I'm about to show you, then it's really fun what happens. It's fun and exciting. And so then you'll see this graph change over a little bit of time over here. This is the don't pay a lot of attention to the value of the company. That's if you're selling it, but it's not really resonating. So this is revenue, this is profit, and then it's the blue line is now, the green line is what would be, and then there's even a section. So as we come down, so you'll watch all these numbers change as we go through these different impacts. You might recognize most of these over here, and then at the bottom we'll have summary totals. And the summary totals are going to be, you'll see these numbers change dramatically, and then this one is in what it'll look like in 5 years. So it was very similar to what we were looking at before. So let's take the mystical business number that every agency aspires to in marketing, and that's the 10K club. $10,000 a month in revenue, $120,000 again US, but you get the idea. $120,000 in annual revenue. So that's what I'm putting in over here is annual revenue. Okay. So I happen to know from research that the general marketing gross profit margin, once expenses are paid to provide the services that they provide, is 50%. 50% of their revenue goes toward the gross profit, or 50% of their revenue goes to pay the expenses to provide the services that they provide. And a lot of that money is contracting. If you're outsourcing something, that's a lot of it. The software, I mean, there's some of these, if you're doing it all yourself, I mean, you could realize, you could have 60 or 70% gross profit margins, which is, really cool, but it's not always the case. So on the whole, 50% is a good place to start. And then net profit, once all the overhead's paid and everything's done, you're left with 15%. That's a pretty industry standard average for marketing, digital marketing agencies, right? You guys just thought you were long ignored in all this. You're about to see what happens. Okay, so we're set to 0 on our little simulator. So I'm going to crank it up to your percentages over here. So I'm going to crank it up to 3% increases across the board in all 12 of these areas, okay? So let's do that. My mouse will cooperate with me. There it goes. Okay, that's 3.5. Let's reel it back. Okay, 3%. So 3, and you see what those numbers look like down here. There's various percentages, but now let's get to the fun one. This is what happens when you increase everything above by 3%. Okay, you get a you get a revenue of $46,000 increase. Okay, because remember this is annual, so we're talking about $120,000 of annual revenue. We just increased it by $50,000, $46,000, right? So then that's a total of $166,000 in the annual revenue. So $46,000 comes from making those small changes you didn't know you had. But the interesting one here is, let's go over and look at the profit. Okay, so you saw your profit before was $18,000, right? Net. This is net profit. This is net profit. But we also increased it by $46,000. Look at that. So pretty much the same as over here. That doesn't always happen, but in this case it does. And the reason it does is because a lot of what you're spending on is in terms of cost is above the line stuff. It's contractors. It's to provide the services. It's something directly associated with that. So when you already account for that, you don't have to change a lot. So you get to keep a lot of what you have there, because all these increases we're talking about, they already account for all of that. So it's entirely possible that, this will never exceed your revenue, it shouldn't anyway, then something's not right. But it can be amazingly close because everything is, all your relevant expenses to this are covered. And so everything you're realizing is you've already paid for. So you've already paid for the other stuff. So this is over and above that, so you're making that extra money. So there's $46,000. And then just for fun, we kick it up into 5 years. All right. So how this is possible is through something called the power of compounding impacts. So one of these by itself, not much savings, in each of these individually. But when you start combining them together, it's like the concept of compound interest in a bank. All of a sudden, if you get into an account that has offers you compounding interest, everything speeds up dramatically, because just math, it's a mathematical thing. Because then it is helping you to expand. It's helping you to grow that. So it's a mathematical thing that if you start combining all of these together, it makes it increases everything by a lot. Okay. So let's come up here and make it 5. We're at 3%. Let's make it 5%. So remember, we were $46,000 before in revenue and nearly in profit. So going from 3% to 5%, here's what we get. We almost double. There's $85,000 in revenue that if you turned all this on at once up here, we could help you to realize, just if you're in the 10K club, $10,000 extra or $85,000 extra revenue. Now you start to see the differentiation though. The profit over here, it did not keep pace. It's at $65,000. In change in profit, and then you see the 5-year total there. So it doesn't necessarily keep profit, or keep pace, but that is money you didn't know you had, man. So kind of comes out of nowhere. All right, let's do one more. Okay, we'll slide this back down to 3%, and we will pick on a different industry. Let's pick on chiropractors, shall we? A lot of you chiropractors are a big deal. So I have it on authority that the average chiropractic practice generates $412,000 in revenue in a year. Okay, that's average. So there's a reason people like dealing with chiropractors, because they make a fair amount of money. Their gross profit is still about 50%, but their net profit is between 6 and 12% of all that. So let's just say 10%. Let's be kind of optimistic here. Okay. All right. So 10% of their entire revenue, of all the money they bring in, they actually get to keep as net profit. They have lots of overhead. Usually they have the other doctors that are not the owner. They have staff, they have equipment investment, they have some other things that they have to keep track of and try to raise that. And they have the way that their fees are structured oftentimes is they have to work all that out. So we're still at 3% in that group. And you may be looking at the chart over here every once in a while, which makes things kind of interesting to see how everything plays out. But let's go look at the totals that you see there. So for $412,000 of revenue, we can make them $158,000 in additional revenue they didn't know they had. Okay, that's wonderful. Still got to pay the expenses though, right? Even though that's a third of what they had probably. So if you go over and look at the profit though, it's similar as well. Now, why is that? It's all this that we're addressing is after all the main bills to provide the services themselves have been paid. What you're working on then is the overhead. And the sales. This is the bottom part of that funnel is what all of this is. Most of this focuses on. So you can or pouring in more revenue, so it can get really close to the same. But I have a feeling it's not going to keep pace when we bring it up here to 5%. There we go. Slid a little bit. Come on. Okay, there we go. Persnickety mouse. What can I say? Now let's see what we did at 5%. So we're pretty much doubled. It was $158,000 before. It's now $292,000 in revenue. And we come over, we slide over here, and this is not kept pace, but it's not too shabby. You're approaching 50% of their original revenue they were making there. So at $212,000, and look at you're into nearly 6 figures or 7 figures, $1 million business down here in 5 years if you keep doing the things that you're doing. So this is just a simulator. This is everybody's. You see, we could even change these individually if you wanted to. But this is a great opportunity, and just to kind of dream a little bit and play. These are not phony numbers. These are accountable numbers. These are numbers that require you to do some work to get there. Can't just magically show up and I've showed up. I've just made you $200,000. No, we've been working side by side over a 6-month period, 6 months to 12-month period to make this happen. Step by step, piece by piece, working through the to-do list, not overwhelming anybody. And that's the type of work you're going to have to do in your business to do this. This is not an overnight thing. I don't care what anybody tells you. These take time to set up, just as in your regular business now when you're formulating what you do. These take time to set up. These take time to run. These take time to do properly. And it takes some effort, but we can run any business through this pretty much. But it's a lot more fun, even though it's more involved, to sit down and do the blueprinting process with somebody, because then you do get to know their business. You do get to know what they're all about. So this is our little journey through this is kind of why we're doing all this. This is our journey through the profit simulator, acceleration simulator, trying to show you sort of what's possible. And yeah, we're talking about all these impact concepts up here and how they can help your business. But when you start adding real numbers to it, it makes it a whole lot more fun. And the beauty of this is that in many cases, most of this stuff up here is the far low end of what's possible. I mean, if you think about it, if you offer something for $100 and you increase your prices by 5%, that's $5. Okay. That's 105. Then it's $105, which you can totally do. If you had to increase it by 15%, it wouldn't be the worst thing in the world. And that's not the cost of the product or service. It doesn't affect that. It affects the revenue that comes in. The cost stays the same. So if you start increasing the revenue that it generates, that's where a lot of this success comes from. And so, we talk about increasing leads by, 3% or 5%. That's not very many leads. Frankly, you could probably do better. Then you start talking about conversions. And if you do that conversion equation and you really master that and the market dominating position, that could increase your business 50 to 75%. If it's really done well, 50 to 75% increase in the amount of business that you're able to generate, because you're actually capturing those people. It's not the sieve where you get a 1 and 2% conversion rate. You're really doing something to be noticed and get their attention and do something different. And when you do that, you're rewarded for it. To bring in a referral, 75% likely at minimum. It's more like 90%. And because you're doing something to hedge that bet, you're doing something to bring people more into what you're talking about. And before you even get to sell them, you're sort of pre-selling them in ways, and it has wonderful dividends for that happening. Okay. So that's the Profit Work Simulator. that's kind of fun. Let me flip over to back to the other for just a brief second, because some of you, and I appreciate everybody sitting through watching this. I hope I haven't bored you or made it crazy, but I really wanted you to understand how this process works and why it's important and why we're doing this. This is can be a big deal. So um, if you want more information on this, if I've got your head spinning as to what's possible in the best possible way, I got your head spinning, not your head hurting for too many numbers and financials and that sort of thing. Let's explore what this looks like for some of you. If you're making $1,000 or something a month, then this is the full blueprinting process is probably not beneficial for you yet. But the Success Academy might be. It might be it's the foot in the door. We're not going to totally leave you alone. We're going to check in with you quarterly, and see how you're doing and see if you're doing what you need to do. Maybe the profit, when it comes, you go through the blueprinting process but you're not ready for the full experience. Well, then that's where the Profit Works JumpStart program might be helpful for you. So you sort of baby step into this and then you start. But what you'll find is if you really do make the effort to do some of this and you start working through what that would look like, you will see amazing results in what you do. There's what I was missing. All right. See amazing results in what you do. I'm about to sound like Robert F. Kennedy for a second, though he's far more prestige than I am. But anyway, that is these are the ways that if you want more information, if I've got you thinking, if you really want to know more, then let's talk about what more can look like. Okay. If you want to do if you think the Success Academy is kind of your thing, your level, then reach out at the address there at academy.jklworks.com and get started with that process. If you think you're ready for the full blueprint experience and you want to see what that looks like for your business, let's see if we can find you that $50,000 in revenue you didn't know you had. And the thing I didn't mention about the revenue is it doesn't go away. It's not like we found it once and it's done. That keeps showing up because you have put all these steps in place, and you continue to, as long as you continue to do them, you'll continue to see the revenue benefit. So it builds on itself. That's where we get the 5-year number from, because you keep doing these things and they keep piling on top of each other. And it just keeps adding to what you do, and we'll find more. Like I said, we can go from 12 to 27 to 40 in the case of the standard, or 15 to 40 in the case of the digital. So there's a lot out there that we can do, and there's a lot but you have to be willing to do the work too. This is not a hand it to you, done for you, and you do nothing. Far from it. You need to invest in your business, but you need to, as the cliche goes, you need to work on your business, not in your business. Don't get mired in all the details and don't fix the top level. Make the decision to fix the top level about what makes it different and what helps it stand out and what you're willing to have your role be in that process, and we'll go from there. If all that's too much for you and you're just enjoying the live videos and watching me rumble, bumble, and stumble through the whole thing, then we're on YouTube and Rumble at JKL Plugin TV. You're welcome to be a part of that, as well as be in the Facebook groups and be surrounded by all this. It's much of the same videos, but at some point I would challenge you. You're welcome to do that as long as you want. I appreciate everybody driving up the metrics and watching. I really do. But at some point, I've got to believe that I'm not helping you until you can absorb all the training you want. And there's a lot of it out there, but I'm not helping you, and we're not helping you if you don't decide to take those next steps in some form or fashion. This really is working on your business. And so you should make the effort to do that without question. All right. So that's what I have to offer. Thank you for sitting through the technical difficulties with me. Oh, and one final thing. If you're overwhelmed by all this and you're not really sure what is the good fit, book a strategy call with me. It's the typical, discovery call, strategy call at strategy.jkl.works, and we can go from there to find what your path could be. I've already got a couple of people I've reached out to that are doing that, and that's cool. This will be awesome. This will be a great time just to talk and kind of see where your business is and where you'd want to take it. Same with, but if you decide you want the blueprint, that is blueprint.jkl.works, and you won't see the digital blueprint represented there yet. We're having to add it in because it's just new, but you will see it eventually. But based on the type of business that you put in that you are, we'll figure it out. And we'll make sure that you end up on the digital blueprint side if that's appropriate to your business structure and what it is. Just a warning, in the Success Blueprint side of things, there are additional, and both versions of the blueprint, there are additional pre-launch questions that we ask you, and it's important that you take the time and fill those out. Okay, that helps us and it helps you. It's not just filler. It really helps us to have a better understanding and to make the most of our time whenever we come to it. And then if you'll get a copy of the blueprint regardless. Hopefully it is something for you that we can come alongside, even as a fellow digital marketing agency, that we can help you realize some of those benefits. But that is all I got at the moment. I thank you everybody for watching, for kind of sticking through all this and through the technical difficulties and the complexity of it. But I really wanted to take this opportunity to pause and recap and say, this is where we're at. This is why we're doing this. This is why it's important. This is what real business life change is. And so I hope you got a lot of benefit out of that. And thanks for watching. If you have any questions, put them in the comments wherever you are seeing this, and our team will do the best to answer them that we can. Appreciate you watching, and we will catch you next time.